Want to become an amazing world-class copywriter? There are 3 things you need to master: positioning, voice, and messaging. Get your pen and paper out because you're gonna be taking a lot of notes. This is not your average video. This is an in-depth training with exercises and lessons and all kinds of things. And I'm even going to take you behind the scenes and show you how I'm updating my own copy, and you can see how I do it. Before you write a word of copy, you have to master what's called positioning. Specifically, you need a positioning statement. In my most recent video, I talked in depth about the importance of positioning, and that video is called What is Copywriting? By the way, hi, I'm Courtney Shaw. I am a sales copywriting teacher. I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs on helping them to sell and book out their services, and I'm sharing all my best tips in these new YouTube videos. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe if that sounds good to you. Hands down, the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making is trying to sell what they do. Let me explain. Your target clients don't care about what you do. What they want to know is that you understand them and you can help them to get the transformation or result that they are craving. I'm going to reference my rainbow of sales process here, which again, I talked about in my most recent video called What is Copywriting? But your positioning statement is going to follow this formula. I help target market to go from cloud to gold. For example, I help service providers to go from not booking clients to booking clients consistently. In order to fill in your positioning statement, you're going to need to master the rainbow of sales. Your ideal target clients, or as I like to call them, your muses, have a big core frustration and a desired result, a desired outcome. Your offer is the thing that bridges the gap between the frustration at the current place that they're in right now and where they want to be instead. Your offer is the rainbow that connects the cloud and the pot of gold. I want you to go ahead and stop this video right now and come up with a shitty first draft of your positioning statement and put it in the comments below so I can give you some feedback. Like I said, the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making is trying to sell what's included in their offer instead of the transformation that their offer is going to help to create. So for example, I was talking to a health coach recently, and when I asked her what her offer was, she told me that all the things that were included, so like there's blood tests and meal plans and coaching sessions, which is all really great, but those are features of the offer. They are not the core transformation. That would be called selling the rainbow, selling the process instead of the outcome. What I want to know is, what is the core problem that somebody has right now the sessions and the blood tests and the meal plans are going to help solve, and what is the result that they're going to experience because they're doing this work with you. I want you to pause this video right now and go ahead and take a stab at writing your positioning statement using the formula that I just shared with you. I just think it's so important that we practice these things and that we're not just passively consuming content on YouTube, because like understanding the concept is not going to get you anywhere. It's putting it into action. So I would love for you to write what I call a shitty first draft of your positioning statement and post it in the comments below. And that way I can like cheer you on, give you some feedback if you want, and that way you're making progress towards becoming a better copywriter. The second pillar of writing amazing copy is voice. Voice is simply the personality of your writing, the personality of your brand. You have a personality, your friends have personalities, your family members have personalities, and your brand needs to have just as clear of a personality. If you're trying to write to everyone, or you're trying to write to a certain audience that's more young and wants more humor, and you're writing in a really professional academic voice, it's not going to connect. And I think the easiest way to go about developing your voice, which we'll talk about why that's a misnomer in a second, is to embrace your authentic voice. If you're a solopreneur or you're the face of your personal brand, your brand's voice should essentially be your voice. And we need to make sure that we're extracting elements of your voice that are going to make it feel really alive in your copy and not just sound like everybody else's. Do you see your brand's voice being more in your face, direct, sassy, and spontaneous, maybe a little snarky? Or is it a little bit more calm and peaceful and approachable? Those are things that you want to know before you start to write copy. And essentially, again, just think about who you are and how you speak, and that is exactly how you want to write your copy. The biggest mistake that you're likely making when it comes to owning your voice is either, number one, trying too much to borrow someone else's voice, which usually comes from just a lack of confidence and feeling like we can truly find the words and language that articulates who we are, so we can get over inspired by other people's writing, and then it doesn't really sound like us and it doesn't work because it's not you. Or the second possibility is that when you go to write, you shift into this weird writer mode. And this happens for a lot of people like me who were really in the academic writing world, or maybe you were in like a corporate or legal writing space, and there's just a way you were taught to write. And when you sit down to write something, you kind of shift gears and it's like you can't even communicate anymore and you kind of sound like a robot. The third possible mistake that you might be running into is simply overthinking how you say things. You don't think this much before you speak to someone, but for some reason when it comes to writing, we get really obsessive about the wording and the exact way we're saying things that we wouldn't do when we're talking, which allows our language to come across more natural and free. I just want to interject here to emphasize that positioning is the first and most important thing that you can do to become a great copywriter. And that's why in my last video called What is Copywriting, that is what we talked about exclusively, is positioning. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go watch that video after this one, because you're going to need that foundation in order to put what I'm teaching in this video into practice. All right, I'm just really feeling the need to add a little bit more on this because I am a recovered academic writing consultant, and I actually went through training in college on how to help academic writers to write better papers, and I almost went to apply to get a PhD. And one of the things that stopped me from doing that was a professor told me that she could tell that I loved writing and loved injecting my voice into my writing. And she was like, that is exactly what we're going to remove from your writing is your voice. That's not academic writing. The type of writing you learned in school to write essays where they tell you don't use second person, don't say you, don't use contractions, all of that. That is the opposite of what we want to do in copywriting. I've done some content on this on social media, on Instagram, so I'll share some links in the description box below for those posts. But really, the voice is one of the main things that's going to be different between copywriting and more professional academic writing. This is why you have to be really careful of getting any feedback on your copy from people who are quote unquote writers, because just because you're a writer does not mean you understand copywriting. They are such different things, and in fact, a lot of the things that make great copy great are things you are not allowed to do in other forms of writing, and I think copywriting is just more fun. But it might take you some time to unlearn what has been put into your head from all those years of school and even having writing trauma. And this, what I'm talking about in this video, is how we heal that writing trauma and how we become great copywriters. This is what I desperately want you to understand. If you can talk, you can write. They don't need to be different things. In fact, one of the best things you can do to quote unquote find your voice, which is a misnomer because you already have a voice, you're just unlearning the ways that you've learned how to write in the past that aren't in your voice. Again, academics literally tries to remove your voice from your writing, and copywriting does the opposite, is to do a voice recording. Whenever I have a piece of content to write and I feel even remotely stuck, I pull out my phone, I open my voice memos app, and I go on a walk or I sit at my desk or whatever, and I just brain dump verbally what I'm trying to say. I found that this works really well for me, but even when I'm talking to clients about their copy and there's a section of their copy that I'm like, okay, I don't really get what you're trying to say here. And they say, well, what I'm really trying to say here is, I just say, okay, just say that. The way that people verbalize what they're trying to say is, I'm gonna say 10 times out of 10, more clear and better communicated and more natural than when we sit down to write. All right, I wanna give you a little bonus tip here, and this is one of my clients' favorite tips for coming up with great wording and language in their copy to make sure it's really conversational and connects with your target reader. So I call this the girlfriend filter, but it's just that because the idea is that you imagine that you're going out for drinks with your friend on a Friday evening and you are complaining about the problem that you have, and the language that you're using for that needs to match whatever is on the sales page. So it's not you going out for drinks, it'd be your ideal client going out for drinks with their friend. And if they're articulating the problem they're having, does that resonate with the language you have? And if not, then what we do is we inject the language that is on your page into that scenario, and sometimes it sounds really ridiculous and we realize we need to adjust it. So this is my sales page for the sales page kit, and we're going to use the girlfriend filter just on this first section of copy here. And I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So my ideal client is somebody who is really needs to get sales coming in with their sales page. And let's say they go out for a drink on a Friday evening with one of their entrepreneur friends, and they're talking about how, I'm just really struggling with my sales copy and this and that. And then they say, I need to master the art and science of sales page copywriting. Does that sound like language that would actually come out of somebody's mouth? And I think it's okay. Sometimes it sounds super awkward and it actually makes us laugh, but I think we could do a lot better. I think that the language someone might be using is more oh my God, I need to find the language that is really connecting emotionally with my target clients, and I'm struggling to identify what that language is. It just feels like I'm constantly missing the mark, or I'm being too vague, or I'm getting too wordy, and I'm having trouble honing that in. So this is where a voice memo can come in handy too, because you could turn on a voice memo and just run all of your copy through the girlfriend filter and see what it sounds like, and then go, okay, what would be more natural to say instead? This can really help you to get out of that quote unquote writer mode and that academic or corporate writing stuckness that I was talking about earlier. The third and final pillar of writing excellent copy is messaging. Now, according to Google, messaging represents how a brand communicates to its customers and highlights the value of its products. What does that really mean? How can that actually help me? Messaging is everything that you communicate about your brand to people when you're trying to communicate the core message of your brand. So if your core positioning is that core transformation that you help people to achieve, your messaging is all the different types of ways on your website, in your social media, etc., where you're communicating that core positioning, but in many, many different ways. So for example, in this video, I'm making sure that my messaging is on point to my core positioning, but I can't just keep restating my core positioning again and again and again. That would get really boring and you wouldn't watch this video. What I'm doing is I'm packaging a whole bunch of things that I want to say, but I'm making sure that it's all going through the filter of my core positioning. Your messaging is the most important when either A, someone is encountering your business and your brand for the first time. So places like your website homepage, in any of your content that you're putting out online that is getting in front of new people, and even on places like your opt-in page for your freebie. This is where people especially need to make sure they understand what you do, what you're all about, and how you can help them. The second place where your messaging is the most vital is in any kind of sales content or sales conversation. You cannot be vague at all about what your core message is in that content. But let's talk about the core messaging in the homepage and the opt-in freebies and the content like on Instagram. Specifically, I want to take a look at my homepage and the core messaging I have there, and I want to show you how I'm going to reworkshop this messaging and why I don't feel like it's currently serving me as it is right now. Here we are on my homepage, and the homepage is so important because this is where so many people are going to encounter my brand for the first time, or as they're just starting to get to know who I am and trying to see, is this somebody I want to follow? What does she have for me? How is she going to help me? And the first copy on this page, and what we call above the fold, meaning I don't have to scroll to see it, it's what I see before I scroll down at all, is, hi, I'm Courtney Shaw. I'm a serial entrepreneur with a background in sales and copywriting and a love of teaching and coaching, here so I can help you. And unfortunately, that copy right now is way too focused on me. You don't care that I love this or this is what I've done before. What you want to know is, do I understand who you are, what the cloud is that you have, and the gold is that you have, and are you intrigued to continue reading? I don't feel like this copy is really doing it justice. And the reason I have some kind of copy on here right now is because I've been making some massive changes to my business model over the last year, and I just needed to kind of have something on there. So what I want to do right now is I want to pull this copy into a Google Doc, and I want to show you exactly how I would update this copy based on everything we're talking about in this video. All right, let's take a look at this copy. So the old copy says, "Hi, I'm Courtney Shaw. I'm a serial entrepreneur with a background in sales and copywriting, and a love of teaching and coaching. Here's how I can help you." It's all talking about me, which is just not what you want to do on the homepage of your website. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep the "Hi, I'm Courtney Shaw" because I don't mind that. I like the idea that I'm introducing myself to new people. It keeps it conversational. And then what I've done is I actually have a positioning statement that I've been working on, and this is based on the fact that my focus now is helping service providers and course creators with their sales copy. And so what I'm going to do is make this that copy. So now I can even keep "Here so I can help you," right? And I just need to update that sentence. This sentence is going to be so much more focused on you, the person I'm trying to help, and so much less focused on me, the entrepreneur. All right, now that you understand the 3 pillars of copywriting that are your positioning, your voice, and your messaging, it's time to put these into action in your own copy. The most important place for you to nail this is in your own sales copy for your core offering, whether that's a course or a service. The next thing you're going to want to do is watch my complete sales page tutorial so you can see the framework and the structure of that sales page, and then inject all the things we talked about in this video into your sales copy. All right, I want to give you a little bonus tip here, and this is one of my clients' favorite tips for coming up with great wording and language in their copy to make sure it's really conversational and connects with your target reader. So I call this the girlfriend filter, but it's just that because the idea is that you imagine that you're going out for drinks with your friend on a Friday evening, and you are complaining about the problem that you have, and the language that you're using for that needs to match whatever is on the sales page. So it's not you going out for drinks, it'd be your ideal client going out for drinks with their friend. And if they're articulating the problem they're having, does that resonate with the language you have? And if not, then what we do is we inject the language that is on your page into that scenario, and sometimes it sounds really ridiculous and we realize we need to adjust it. So this is my sales page for the sales page kit, and we're going to use the girlfriend filter just on this first section of copy here. I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So my ideal client is somebody who is really needs to get sales coming in with their sales page. And let's say they go out for a drink on a Friday evening with one of their entrepreneur friends, and they're talking about how, I'm just really struggling with my sales copy and this and that. And then they say, I need to master the art and science of sales page copywriting. Does that sound like language that would actually come out of somebody's mouth? And I think it's okay. Sometimes it sounds super awkward and it actually makes us laugh, but I think we could do a lot better. I think that the language someone might be using is more like, oh my God, I need to find the language that is really connecting emotionally with my target clients, and I'm struggling to identify what that language is. It just feels like I'm constantly missing the mark, or I'm being too vague, or I'm getting too wordy, and I'm having trouble honing that in. So this is where a voice memo can come in handy too, because you could turn on a voice memo and just run all of your copy through the girlfriend filter and see what it sounds like, and then go, okay, what would be more natural to say instead? This can really help you to get out of that quote unquote writer mode and that academic or corporate writing stuckness that I was talking about earlier. Fortunately, I also have a free Google Doc sales page template for you, whether you're a service provider or course creator. There's 2 templates that you can download in the description box below. This is exactly what my free sales page or work with me page template looks like. And I want to show you how any business could use this template. And by inserting your positioning, your voice, and your messaging, it's then going to look and sound totally different from anyone else's. Just because it's a template doesn't mean that everyone's needs to sound the same. In fact, they're not going to at all. They'll be unrecognizable. So when you go to the template, you will plug in your cloud headline. So this is a headline that gets at that core problem that somebody has. So first you just kind of inject the core message there, the core positioning there on the cloud. And then once you've written that line, then you're going to go through with voice exercises and run through the girlfriend filter that I talked about a little bit ago. And you're going to make sure that it sounds interesting, that it sounds like you, that it sounds on brand. Then where the messaging principle comes in is where you're going to elaborate on that copy. So we've got the core positioning, right? And then we're going to go and dig a little deeper and say a little bit more, then run that through the girlfriend filter. Make sure that is being spoken in your voice or your brand's voice. And you're going to do that throughout the copy. So you can see we've got every single section laid out here in this template. I go over all the sections in my sales page tutorial video, which I'm going to show you a thumbnail here that you can go ahead and watch that video next, because that is definitely the next step to this process to start putting this into practice, because you've got all the tools for free. We've talked about the 3 pillars of your messaging, or 3 pillars of copywriting. You have the sales page tutorial and you have the sales page template. Now is the time to go ahead and watch that video and get started working on your copy. Click on the thumbnail here so you can watch that sales page tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss the next video.